Berserkr is Keepforest's latest flagship percussion library that's tailored to a gritty folk sort of Viking style, and supposedly it packs quite a punch. Keepforest provided me with a free review copy in exchange for an honest review on the library, so this video reflects my opinion after using the library for about a week, reading all the manual and tutorials, live streams to be well prepared.
I can tell you everything you need to know.
Berserkr runs in the free Kontakt Player. You need the latest version though, Kontakt 7. It comes in two versions, Berserkr Pro and Core. The core version is about 30% of the Pro's content and summarizes the library in fewer patches with fewer samples. The Pro version instead goes ham, with tons of content for more detail and variety, layering and blending options. A folder with WAV files is also included in both versions and can be purchased separately if you don't want the Kontakt instruments and save some money. Berserkr, or Berserkr, whatever you want to call it. Keepforest calls it Berserkr, so I will do the same. It comes with 5 main categories. Drums Foundation has a huge variety of different kinds of hits and impacts, drums, stabs and stomps, claps and snaps. And medieval and other types of percussions that really make you feel like you're in an RPG video game or participating in some sort of unholy ritual. There's weapons and textures, which includes weapon strikes and clashes, anvil strikes, and foley stuff like rumbling stone and fire crunches. These samples are awesome to layer them with the drum foundations for a more organic, sort of like earthy feel. Whoosh and Motions add transitory elements and detail to the acoustic storytelling. Breaths and growls range from shouting, growling, and breathing. All the way to this gorgeous ear candy here. Love it. Finally, tonal elements include processed and original cello samples, a nickel harper, a plucked bass, and more effects. Again, the content in Berserkr Pro is massive. I can only show a little slice here. There are subfolders and subfolders inside subfolders, and yeah, there's a lot of patches, 270 patches if I'm not mistaken, and there's a lot of content to choose from. But one thing you must keep in mind is that Berserkr is mainly a percussion library. The cello and nyckelharper are not sampled for playing melodies, for example, but rather build a tonal bed to support the rhythm with tonality. The notes can be tweaked, but you have to use key switches. It will be enough to support the rhythm, but maybe not do the best melody. Beside the gazillion of Kontakt patches of Berserkr Pro, there are 97 multi-instruments that expertly combine patches to give pretty impressive rhythm straight out of the box. Really nice for like a tension track, even in production music. One advantage of the core version, besides its lower price, is the simpler folder structure. Yes, it has less choice, but there is much less browsing around. You pretty much only have these folders with the respective patches, and that's it. So no subfolders or browsing around different patches that are similar to each other, but with slightly different processing to it. So that can also help if you need fast results. Berserkr organizes its sample in round-robin loops. This means that if I load a patch, for example the punchy war drums, you can see all the round robins for each note in this window. As I play back the sample of one note, the playhead moves right until it reaches the start of the next round robin for that note. When I press the note again, it moves to the next version. Now there are different playback orders. For example, you can skip one round robin or play them at random. An interesting one is the A-B system, because for some patches, like the Whooshes, you will notice that one round robin is more like a swelling element, and the other one is like a hit. And they organize it in a way that the swelling elements would always be like the odd ones, like for example A samples, and then the hits would be the B samples, or the even ones. So with A-B, it would always have like one whoosh and then the hit. But if you have odd, for example, it would only have the whooshes. And with even, only the hits. In the stretch mode, you can map a sample across the keyboard and play it in different pitches. You can double and triple a drum sample to make it sound fatter. So this is the normal one. Double and triple. And as you activate these doubling and tripling options, you have additional control by adding like some humanizations, slight pitch and timing variety, and some stereo width and other options. Some samples are one-shots without round robins, like the hits. For these, you have the random sample start that you can use to have them sort of like round robins, because they never start at the rate at the same time and therefore prevent the machine gun effect. Berserkr samples like to be layered. Seriously, feel free to experiment, it can do wonders. I've gotten great results layering, for example, the heavy drums with metal sounds, or the little details like the coin pouch and wood percussion together with the vocals. Every additional layer of detail helps paint that folky universe of sound that you want to go for when using Berserkr. Now, in my opinion, the star of the show is Berserkr's sequencer, the Rhythm Tab, a seriously impressive engine. It took some hours to get good at it, and I can recommend watching the intro live streams by Keepforest, where they go through all functions one by one. Check them out there on YouTube. It's very impressive to see what Berserk is capable of in the right hands. Here's my quick overview of it, plus 4 killer features. Basically, with this sequencer, you build yourself a rhythm. It supports hotkeys that you can check here. In short, when you hold the Alt key, it affects all steps of that sequence. With Shift, only every 4th. So for example, if I subdivide this step by 2, it does so with the one that is 4 steps afterwards. And with Control, it's every 2nd step. You can also engage the layers mode to decide if you want to double or triple some of the samples. You can, for example, copy and paste the rhythm from the velocity tab, and now you have it here, and then it automatically converts the high velocities into triplings, the medium velocities into doublings, and it keeps the low velocities off any doubling. In this case we didn't have any, but it would do so if the rhythm was like this. This helps create like accentuations and make them more impactful. You can automate the pan, a huge amount of filters, and the pitch. Now there are over 4,000 presets for rhythms that you can browse in the rhythm browser up here. These are just the subfolders, and then for example for the main drum straight you can see simple ones and also complex ones that really pack a punch. And it's cool that you don't have to start every rhythm that you want to make from scratch. Extra killer feature number 1 is the get MIDI function. This is so cool. So after you've crafted a groove, maybe you want to layer your Berserk with a different sample library. Maybe Damage 2 for organic percussion underneath. Or you want to layer the drums with a bass synth that plays short accents, but in the same rhythm. Or like spiccato cello rhythm. Simply press get MIDI, drag and drop the icon to your DAW timeline, and you got the rhythm ready to play. Same for tonal instruments like Jaeger's low strings. This is super helpful and I love it, saves a lot of time. Extra killer feature number 2 is the Groove Maker. When it comes to creating a rhythm inside Berserk, there's a lot you can do with only one track of your DAW. Let's say you created a nice little rhythm inside the sequencer. Sounds like this. And you save it as a preset. Then you add some low hits for some more bass power. You load the preset. But of course, you don't want to play it like all fast 8th notes. Way too rumbly and low. So you only want those stompy high velocity notes at the beginning of each step. And maybe you would probably make it even like this so that every 4th step is and like that. And we learned that we can also use this shift button. And with the Groove Maker, you can now set a velocity range where it skips steps with a certain probability. Let's just say skip all velocities until 90% with a 100% probability. So it will definitely skip everything that is under 90%. Don't forget to turn it on. Now if we layer it together, you see that we don't have to write a new rhythm for our bass drum or our low boom. It will now only play those heavy accents that are between 91 and 100% of the intensity of the sequencer. Then we can of course go ahead and add a second layer to it, maybe some higher pitched percussion like shakers. And we go ahead and we load the same preset, but here we use the Groove Maker again, and this time it skips the high velocities with 100% probability. Don't forget to turn on the sequencer. And now it skips the high velocity accents. You can also press apply and it hard codes it into the sequencer. So it basically applies the setting that we set here. So with the Groove Maker, you have multiple instruments playing at the same beat with a push of one note. And each of the instruments plays only the notes that we want it to. So you don't need to do all this stuff with MIDI notes. Pretty cool. Killer feature number 3. You can select a portion of your groove with the handles up here. let's say we want a fill here, because our groove is a bit boring. It's always the same with different velocities, but there's no variety in it. And let's say we want a triplet fill inside here. We can go up here to the rhythm browser and go into the triplet fills folder. Then we close the rhythm browser. Now we make sure that the start and stop handles are correct, and then we press pick random. And what it does is it randomly picks a fill from the folder that we selected and adds it into our sequence. Another one, and another one, and another one. So now our rhythm sounds like this. So a nice triplet fill inside. I think I've never come across a more efficient sequencer in the percussion library so far. I seriously love this. Killer feature number 4. The sound design folder helps you make things sound massive. So go into the rhythm presets and pick the sound design folder. So if you have a clap and you want to make it sound even bigger and over the top, select a massive claps preset. Now turn up the frequency, it should be fast, and then it will chase the single clap sample through the sequence. So without, it sounds like this, and with, it sounds like this. It sounds huge. So many things you can try to go for a sound that fits best to you. Again, compare the normal to the massive one. Berserkr's engine is very powerful, and there are even some more functions that you should definitely check out. There's also an effects window where you can load effects chains, and there are also some presets. You can drag and drop them and fine-tune them here. I would say it's pretty straightforward and nice to have. So, in my opinion, Berserkr is pretty sick. With the core version, you have a capable percussion library for a hard-hitting, folky trailer-style sound at just under $200 US. And the Pro version takes it off the roof with seemingly endless samples for layering, mixing, sequencing, and sound designing. I feel like I have everything I need to make Ragnarok come to life. I love how the Foley and the organic little details blend so nicely with the more processed sounding drums and sound design elements. The engine is spot on. It takes a while to understand how to use it well and make the most out of it, but it's worth spending time on it and it all makes sense. To me, Berserkr drums don't sound as natural and real sounding as, for example, in Elements Cinematic Rhythms by Zero G, where you almost feel the drummer sitting in front of you. Instead, Berserkr is big, and it hits hard, and it's made for a different purpose. With Berserkr, I can create an entire army of orcs that march into battle. Their armor rattling, and they're shouting with stinking breath as they march and stomp their feet on the ground. Stones are rolling and fire is crackling. It's all there, and it sounds absolutely powerful. If you like this sort of sound, Berserkr will make you happy. If you're more into individual collections of ethnic drums and small percussion to create bard songs and folk tunes, I would say Berserkr is a number too heavy on the intensity spectrum. A quick comparison to Groth by Wavelet Audio is in order, because they're roughly the same price point, with a sort of similar folky tribal tone to it. I'd say Groth is more a general all-in-one toolkit for that cinematic Nordic sound, with tonal elements, percussions, vocals, and sound design balanced out quite nicely. Berserkr, on the other hand, is much more focused on the percussion. The drums have many times more samples and layering possibilities, especially with all those little details that make or break a convincing atmosphere. It has no playable instruments and less tonality to it, but a hefty, big, nice sound paired with a brutally effective rhythm engine. Let's listen to a quick demo I made, only with Berserkr. I hope I could get you a good idea if Berserkr may be a sample library that fits your need or not. Please take 1 second and crush the like button on the video, just like the demo will crush your ear canal with an army of Nordic warriors marching into Valhalla.